The process is called having an etheric plane conversation. And what that means is you can speak soul to soul to another person. And when you do that in the quantum field, it has some pretty dramatic ripples out in the 3D reality. So I may have used the language 5D versus 3D, but what I was referencing was speaking to them in the quantum field. And when someone shows up, when you show up in a soul-to-soul or etheric plane conversation, you're showing up as a higher frequencied version of you, where you don't have all of the layers of protection and guardedness and some of the games that you might play with each other, or the power plays, or the fears. Most of those are stripped away in that etheric plane conversation. If you've had a breakup with someone and you're having a hard time finding closure, etheric plane conversation can be profoundly healing ways to move out and have closure around relationships. And the way that you have these etheric plane conversations in the quantum field is you go into the imaginal, which we talk about regularly in the law of assumption, the imaginal field, or the hypnagogic state, which is going into theta brainwave state, which you can do via either one of our recordings, or you can use binaural beats to get into a theta brainwave state. There's many aspects or ways to go about doing that. So you would go get to that brainwave state, the theta brainwave state, and then you would call in, you would say, I'm asking for the soul of, and you would say their full name 3 times.
Why 3 times? Why not 2 times? Or 4 times?
I don't know. 3 is what seems to work, though. I can do it doing it once. Pretty regularly. Most of my clients that I've taught this modality to, this process, 3 is what works. So it's probably based on a certainty.
How do you know when you're there?
You can see them in front of you. And so you're doing this with your eyes closed in that, trance state, or that theta state, meditation state. And if it's someone, for example, that you've had a volatile relationship with, and a way to create safety is that you can visualize them in a chair. I've used this with clients inside of hypnosis as well as guiding them. You can have that person, not be able to talk, where you say to them, you are not allowed to speak. And because you are the sovereign authority in your inner world, when you are the one who's creating that etheric plane conversation, you are the one defining the rules. So you will see that after you define, you're not allowed to talk. You can say to them everything that you would have desired and wanted to say, and have closure, have many things be said that you did not get to say in the 3D, and it's very, very powerful. You can also do apologies. You can have honest conversations where they will have dialogue with you, and you will find that the version of them that is showing up is quite transparent. I almost reference it as a truth serum in ways. It's an opportunity to really have frank conversations with people that you want to see change happen with. Why you hear regularly that your thoughts are very powerful. Be very careful with your thoughts. Where your mind goes, your reality follows. So what you think does then have tremendous weight to it. But when you do something in the imaginal realm, when you're in that theta brainwave state, you're moving into the feeling state.
But I have a question. Like, when I was in the manifesting process of getting my specific person, I would have some days where I just felt really down. I had my limiting beliefs, yet I still achieved my goal because the overarching like work or like the more prominent and like state that I was in was clearly the outcome that I wanted. It seems like you don't always have to be imagining everything perfect all the time. And that's kind of like with law of attraction.
Yes.
You have this idea that like if you're not perfectly feeling great, that you won't get your manifestation, or that you're putting ripples of negativity into the manifestation. So what is it?
So you bring up a really good point, which is the having to always think positively, making sure that your thoughts are always positive. That's more of a law of attraction. Law, essentially. With the law of assumption, it's whatever you are thinking or believing is what becomes. However, it's what I call resting rate frequency or resting rate beliefs. It's where you are most of the time. So what's beautiful about that is you don't have to worry in this case or try to achieve only perfect thinking. But as long as you realize that, I can have bad days, I can have these ups and downs, but they're not the prominent state of where you are. We have seen tremendous success still with, an 80-20 rule where someone is in a particular thought patterning 80% of the time and 20% in doubt, and it still very much create the outcome that they wanted.
How does one get to the etheric plane, and what do you advise like people watching this who are really in desperate need of wanting to connect with someone that they're unable to in the 3D right now?
You would go into the theta brainwave state, and you can do that either using binaural beats. You can do that using guided meditation that will take you into the theta brainwave state. And once you're in that imaginal field, you would say, I'm calling in the soul of, and state their name 3 times. And you will, more often than not, you will see them show up in front of you, at which time you can have some very beautiful, transparent, heart-opening conversations where you can share what your thoughts are, what your desires are, what you want. You can do some beautiful apologies. You can have closure to relationships. There's so much to be done inside of etheric plane communication that then can have we have seen some tremendous results from continuing on a regular basis etheric plane conversations with the people in your life and the results of that. So I usually recommend that you decide ahead of time something that you want to discuss, as well as an outcome that you would like. And I would recommend meditating on that first, really getting clear on what your hopes and desires are of what you would like to see. So doing that inside of the imaginal field, several scenarios where you see that etheric plane conversation going a particular way before you call them in and have that etheric plane conversation. Now, one of the key pieces is people say, I just don't know how to trust the information of what I'm seeing. And that's called ego backlash, where it takes a while for your brain inside of the law of assumption to switch over into these really radical new ways of thinking and operating in the world. But as you see results time and time and time again, as you really see that this works, your mind gets more and more accustomed to this new way of being and operating and seeing the world. And when that happens, that ego backlash starts to quiet down. You can also have etheric plane conversations where you are writing at the same time. That gives the ego mind something to do. So you would still go into the theta brainwave state, and then after that you would speak to that person via written conversation where you write your question and then you write out the answer as free writing. And that is a way to really start to become a very clear channel.